Journalists became political analysts. Journalists became demonstrators. Journalists became thought leaders in politics. Who the hell asked you what you think of Netanyahu? You are a journalist. Report the facts. This is good, that's bad. No one asked you. Welcome back to the next episode of From Tech to Tanks. Not gonna lie, kind of exhausted. There was so much going on. There is so much going on that I just could not shut down the phone, shut down my brain, shut down my eyes, because I knew, and I was right, that as soon as I wake up, a whole new world. Things are changing at an insane pace, and it's kind of nuts. But I want to talk about something very specific, and that is fake news. Let's talk about fake news. We're all very familiar with the concept of fake news. We all understand that whatever the media says should be taken with a grain of salt. But I actually think, if we're being honest, nowadays, media should not be taken with a grain of salt. Media should be taken with a frickin' bag of salt, because the media mechanism, the algorithms as we call them, are so fundamentally broken that journalists have to work extra hard to try to get distribution, to try to get clicks, to try to get readers. And they know that reporting the truth specifically about Israel ain't going to do the job. It's just not going to get them the clicks they need. And so what do? They resort to lies. They resort to the good old-fashioned hatred of the Jews, antisemitism. And they see their numbers skyrocket, and so they continue. This isn't some kind of conspiracy theory. This is full-blown fake news. Let me give you an example. I received, without exaggeration, over 100 messages from people saying, look what the Washington Post wrote, look what's going to happen. America's breaking up with Israel. Trump threatened Netanyahu, if he doesn't end the war, that America's going to abandon Israel. That's what the Washington Post reported, and everyone and their mother took that article and reported it again on their sites. From the Jerusalem Post, Times, everyone wrote it. Pretty worrisome. Of course, no one did any research whatsoever. Who wrote that? Who was the source that told the Washington Post that that quote from Donald Trump was accurate? Where did it come from? But here's the thing. 99% of people will not even do that research. And I call it research. It's called opening up the Washington Post and reading the article. Nobody does that. They just believe the fake news. I did do that. I opened up the Washington Post. I read the article. You know who the source was? No, and neither do they. An anonymous source. I did do some research, for the lack of a better term, even though, again, it wasn't research. It required nothing. It required 12 seconds of my time. I opened the Washington Post and I read the article thinking, Witkoff said it, some of his cabinet members said it, maybe Trump said it. Nobody said it. Nobody. The entire thing was based on some anonymous, tip that they got, which they can't verify because they don't even know who the person is. Again, I've been saying this and I'll continue to say it. I sat with Mike Huckabee, Ambassador Mike Huckabee. I put him on the spot. I cornered him and I said, Mike, what's going on with these rumors? What are we hearing about Trump breaking up with Israel? And he said, Hillel, and he tweeted this afterwards, that is not 99% fake news. That is 100% fake news. He said, POTUS, the president, has spent more time with Netanyahu than any other leader. He invited Netanyahu to the White House as the first leader in the world. We have your back. We're friends of Israel. It's true that we're America first, but we're not abandoning you. We're not making you, end the war and leave Hamas in power. It's just not happening. But the press is just pumping out that article that was all based on this Washington Post report, which was based on nothing. So this is just an example of how hard the media works to establish a narrative. Whether the narrative is true or not true is of little to zero relevance or importance. It doesn't matter to them. They need clicks. So that's one thing. Now, I'm going to open up parentheses here and say a little disclaimer, and that is that I voted for Trump, and I believe he is a friend of the Jews. I do. But also, some of the things that he's done in the past couple of weeks are really, really starting to make me ask questions. Signing this deal with the Houthis, right, to get them to stop firing into America or at American vessels, and not including Israel. The Houthis again threatened Israel, which we'll talk about in a second. What was Trump thinking? Why did he not include in that deal his friend Israel? Strange. Then he goes and he negotiates with Iran without Israel's consent or involvement, goes one-on-one, and he is negotiating with Iran, knowing full well that Iran funded Hamas, funded Hezbollah, funded all these guys, And Trump sits with them. That's weird. It's weird, and it's, if I'm being totally honest, a little bit scary. And then he goes and he lifts the sanctions off of Syria. What? I mean, the fact that this Jolani guy, if that's how his name is pronounced, is going around the world with a suit, and all of these leaders are shaking his hand like he's some kind of diplomat and politician when he is a literal Al-Qaeda terrorist, an Al-Qaeda terrorist with a suit. This is not an exaggeration. The fact that they're meeting him, talking to him is absurd. So, right now, Trump is doing some things that are, again, questionable, but that doesn't change the fact that he is a friend of Israel's. So that's number one. What do we have here? We have the leaders of France, England, and Canada who made a joint statement yesterday that if Israel doesn't end the war and send in humanitarian aid, there will be consequences. I think were their words. Let's just relax here, Mr. Canada, France, and England. Maybe you should look at your country as it falls apart. And if you think you're going to go to economic war with Israel, just understand what that means. It means no more intelligence from Israel to you to handle the fact that your country's taken over by jihadis. No more Israel intelligence. No more cybersecurity from Israel. No more tech from Israel. No more automation, technology. No more transportation technology. The list is on and on and on. 90% of the things that these people, leaders and the people of England and of Canada and of France, the things that they use, and we've spoken about this 100 times, the things that they use, without Israel, they couldn't even get out of bed in the morning, and they couldn't, run their lives. An average day, they couldn't do anything without Israeli tech. So, if these countries think they're going to threaten Israel, with economic sanctions, no problem, bring it on. Israel will retaliate, and that will be the end of those countries as far as their economy until they come crawling back to Israel, which they will. So there's that. And then there's the Houthis. I mean, I don't know if you guys ever heard of the Houthis before this war. I know I didn't. For me, Yemen represented Malawi, good fried foods, kube, they make good food. I had never heard of the Houthis. Who the hell are the Houthis and where they come from? Now, I am going to say, let's not belittle the Houthis because we've made that mistake in the past with Hamas. Let's understand that the Houthis have hundreds of thousands of soldiers dedicated to our destruction. That is no laughing matter. That being said, they've threatened now for months to bombard Israel with missiles and rockets and drones, and they have. 0.0001% of them even achieved any level of success. The rest were detonated or fell in spaces outside of Israel. That one ballistic missile hit near Ben Gurion, meters away, and it made a massive crater in the ground, but did not cause casualties or injuries. So now they're threatening they're going to do more. Dude, you got nothing you can do. And yeah, again, they are motivated. They do have a lot of soldiers, but Israel is obliterating all of their infrastructure. Every time Israel attacks Yemen, we got ports destroyed. We got airports destroyed. Yemen, specifically the Houthis, they're smoking something. I don't know what they're smoking. They're on another planet. They're completely disconnected from reality. How do they see what's going on here and not realize they have no chance? Really, you're fighting the two strongest armies in the world, America and Israel? What are you smoking? So the Houthis, will go away. But, on a more fundamental level, and the real issue is that the media would have you believe, and they do this quite well. If I do, I'm being honest, they do it well. They've mastered this. They would lead all of us to believe that there is a massive, shift or tension between Donald Trump and Netanyahu. He's going to abandon him. He doesn't want to talk to him. J.D. Vance didn't come to Israel. Everyone in their theories about how America and Israel are breaking up. America and Israel are not breaking up. The American-Israeli relationship is the strongest it's ever been. And that is a direct quote from the U.S. ambassador to me personally. The relationship is as strong as it's ever been. Are there disagreements? Of course there are disagreements. Trump basically set his goals and he made his promise that in this presidency, he's going to end all wars. And so, yeah, he wants to end the war. He doesn't want it to continue. You know what? Neither do I. Neither does anyone. But Trump understands that the war will not end until Hamas lays down its weapons and returns the hostages. So, there's no rift, there's no tension. We're working together and we have some disagreements, and that's fine. But the media here's the problem because they run these stories that are 99% of the time based on nothing. And people, of course, on social media see it and boom, share it. And the next guy shares it, and the next guy shares it, and it just goes nuts. I cannot tell you how many people wrote me in the last 24 hours asking me, what do you have to say about this? Look, Trump is backstabbing you. You said he's our friend. Look what happened. And I'm like, enough. Forget, look at his actions. Look at his words, right? I mean, last presidency, moved the embassy to Jerusalem, recognized the Golan Heights, right? This presidency, removed the arms embargo that was put on Israel by Biden. He started sanctions on Iran, on many other countries. The things that he has done, you could not possibly say he's not a friend of Israel's. What will those other people say? Oh yeah, he's doing them, but it's really in his own best interest. Again, I'm talking facts, you're talking speculation. I'm talking reality, you're talking mind reading. Maybe you're right. Maybe he is doing it, from a selfish agenda and he's going to backstab us. Maybe. But I can only judge from what he's done. And what he's done has been a friend to Israel. So I have every reason to assume that will continue. But really, just to sum up, the bottom line is there's so much going on between Iran. By the way, America and Iran, the negotiations are pretty much done because America's red line is that Iran will continue to enrich uranium. They said that's an absolute red line, no go. Like if that happens, basically we're attacking you. That's basically where we're at right now because Iran has made several declarations that stopping to enrich uranium is not even on the table. And even if they sign a deal with America, they're going to continue to enrich uranium. So there's not much else to talk about. And I understand that the 5th round of talks has just been canceled. And so it seems to me that those talks are over. And we know what happens next because Trump and Bibi have made it abundantly clear. And it's a military operation to take out their entire nuclear program. How do they do that? What about air defense? The answer is Israel removed and completely destroyed their aerial defense systems. So Iran is sitting here right now with millions of people who hate the regime. We have, I don't know if you saw this, thousands of truck drivers. So the transportation throughout Iran came to a halt. And we have massive world powers pretty much united on the fact that Iran cannot get the bomb. So just do the math. 1 + 1 = 2, and 2 is coming soon. So I'm not too concerned about that. We're going to get to the head of the snake. Hamas is on a thread. I mean, we've destroyed their entire leadership. I mean, you guys have seen the maps or the charts. They're all gone. They're all gone. Like it's wild because America took a decade to get bin Laden, a decade. Israel took 2 years, less than 2 years, to get many, many bin Ladens. Right? Obviously, we know the Haniyas and the Defs and the Sinwars, but Muhammad Sinwar, Sinwar's brother, who was leading Gaza since his brother was killed, was under a bunker under a hospital, to no one's surprise, and he was with many other senior Hamas officials. Israel detonated the biggest bomb and just killed them all. All terrorists, by the way. And he's gone. And so I challenged my followers on Facebook to name a single Hamas leader alive today that is senior enough to have known about October 7th before October 7th, meaning the big ones, the Sinwars and the Defs, and these guys knew October 7th was coming. What's left now on the ground in Gaza are tier 3 Hamas terrorists that knew nothing about October 7th. That's it. The top leadership is gone. Hezbollah, gone. I don't think I'll ever not smile when I think about those beepers blowing up and killing thousands or injuring thousands of Hezbollah terrorists, taking out the entire organization in a split second. This is sci-fi stuff. This is going to go down as like one of the most like spy movie operations maybe in history, except for maybe Entebbe, right? So Hezbollah is basically done. Think about a year ago how many rockets and missiles they were firing into Israel. Now, 0. Hamas, hundreds of rockets a day into Israel. Now, 0, maybe 1 a month, right? Yemen is about to be or continuing to be obliterated. Syria, while not in any way stable or reliable, has not lifted a finger and doesn't seem to me that they're going to lift a finger against Israel. Trump's Middle East trip just now, while I would have loved for him to come to Israel, he signed some of the crazy trillions and trillions of dollars to Israel. But more important than that is that he basically said that there are going to be many Arab states, I believe he used the word many, if not multiple, maybe many, Arab states who will be joining the Abraham Accords. So soon, Israel has peace. When I say peace, I mean, we're okay with Egypt, we're okay with Jordan, we're okay with, the UAE. There's talks with Saudi Arabia. There's talks with Morocco. There's talks with many other countries. And Trump seems to believe they will be joining the Abraham Accords, and Israel will have peace with many more Arab countries, because these Arab countries, once upon a time, were like, oh, free Palestine, Palestinian state. They're sick of them. They're sick of them just like Americans are sick of them. They're sick of them just like Europeans are sick of them. You see these jihadists and their supporters in the streets of LA and New York and, London. And it makes me sick. 50,000, I think it was the number, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it was even more. In London, thousands, tens of thousands of people marching with terrorist flags in their hands in the streets of London. We've gotten past the point where I ask myself, like, where are the police? It's so crazy. But you know what else happened? 50,000 people marched for Israel in New York City in the Israeli Day Parade. 50,000 people. The NYPD was there to secure the event and to protect Jews. Like, it's not all bad. And again, you'll see that first story of all the people in London, protesting against Israel. You will not see the second story of the Israeli Day Parade, because what's the Israeli Day Parade? You have nice Jews holding flags, dancing and singing and enjoying and socializing. Sorry, that's not going to get clicks, so the media will not report it, right? So, all in all, again, do not pay attention to the media. Gaza, by the way, in addition to all of our military pressure, is imploding internally, right? 20,000 or whatever the number is, tens of thousands of people have taken to the streets to protest Hamas. Hamas doesn't like that very much. So they're literally killing each other. Like, literally, they're killing each other. So in addition to Israel's military pressure, Hamas is imploding. Yemen is imploding. Gaza is imploding. Hezbollah imploded, right? Iraq disappeared. So what you have here is a war that's being fought by a country smaller than New Jersey against 7 armies, right? Literal armies. Okay, some are smaller than others. I mean, Judea and Samaria is not, let's call it official army, but they're Hamas. You got Judea and Samaria, you got Gaza, right? Those are the obvious ones. Lebanon, right? Who, again, basically has become irrelevant. You have Syria, 5. You have Iran, 6. And you have Iraq, 7. Although Iraq is basically done, as are many of the others. Then you have the tens, if not more, of countries out there who are siding with Hamas and calling on Israel to stop the quote-unquote genocide, which I can't handle the stupidity. I can't handle the hypocrisy. What kind of genocide in history gave the victim the opportunity to end the genocide, right? I mean, we literally said, you don't like what's going on in Gaza? No problem. Lay down your weapons and give us our hostages back. End of story. But Hamas won't do that. And that is why it's not a genocide. They're bringing it on themselves. And then we see, humanitarian aid trucks going into Gaza yesterday, and you feel like banging your head in the wall. It's like, what are we doing? But there is some method to the madness. And I was reading about it this morning. It's very interesting. Hamas and Gaza were about 2 weeks away from real starvation. Within about a month or two, you were going to see actual, like, real pictures, not from Syria, but from Gaza, of starving children, like Holocaust-level starving children. That would have been the reality. And if that happens, we know what happens. Diplomatic support, any sort of diplomatic support for Israel is over, including America, right? We don't want that to happen. Not because we love those Gazans, right? We don't want it to happen because we will lose support. So what are we doing? Are we sending in 10,000 tons? No, we're not. We sent in 9 trucks, 9. What was on the trucks? Baby food, all right? 9 trucks. Over the next couple of weeks, it will increase to about 30, 40, and that will be manned and that will be controlled and supervised by an American team to make sure that none of that food gets to Hamas. In addition to the American team, Israel will be using drones as they give out the food to make sure Hamas terrorists don't take it. If so, they will eliminate the Hamas terrorists. So we're talking a new game. This isn't what it used to be. But we have to understand, we're sending in 9 trucks with baby food. We're going to get up to 30, 40 trucks. Before we resumed the war, we were talking 600 trucks a day. 600. Now we're sending in 9. So what we're doing is we're sending the minimum amount of food so that people in Gaza don't actually starve. Because we need to do that, not only for the world, by the way, for us. We don't want to starve 2 million people. And I'll just say one thing and we'll end it with this, and then we'll take questions. I can't share too much information, okay? I'm trying to figure out that fine line between oversharing and undersharing. I had a meeting with 4 nice individuals who came to meet me because they are the people who are responsible for taking Gazans out of Gaza. They are the people who are chartering jets. They are the people who are paying other countries to take them in. They are handling the entire process. They came to me because they needed me to help them raise some money. We're not talking a few million, we're talking about billions. And I made some introductions, and things are moving. And pretty soon, not only will there not be Hamas in Gaza, but pretty soon there won't be Gazans in Gaza either. You know what Gazans are going to be? Jewish Israelis, just like we were in Gush Katif. We're going back to that. Netanyahu made a clear statement that we are taking over Gaza. How long we'll stay there? What does that mean? What does it mean to the people who are there? All good questions. But we are in there, and we are going deeper, and we are taking over Gaza because nothing else worked. And the objective there is, first of all, of course, to get our hostages back. And it's to obliterate Hamas. That is the goal. That is the declared goal. That is what we'll do. It might take a day. It might take a week. It might take a month. It's not going to take a year. Because, again, Hamas is gasping for air. They have no oxygen. They're holding on by a thread, and they know that. How do I know they know that? Because they keep getting off their high horse. They keep, changing their demands or giving into the demands that they previously rejected. Every day this is going on. So Israel changed the Middle East. Israel's going to win this war. Israel's already winning this war by any metric you want to take. Any metric, Israel's winning this war. We've killed tens of thousands of Hamas terrorists. Don't believe the lies. These are not women and children. Are women and children being killed? Sure, like in any war. And you know who's responsible for that? Hamas. Israel is doing everything it can to minimize civilian deaths by any means possible. We are eliminating Hamas. We've already obliterated their leadership. We will continue to do so. And given all that, I do hope somehow that with Hashem's help, that there will be a quote-unquote ceasefire / end of the war when Hamas lays down its weapons, leaves Gaza, and hands our hostages back. If that happens, hallelujah, end the war. Till then, it would be a strategic mistake, a historic strategic mistake to end this war. I hope that Israeli leadership is not stupid enough to do that. I am optimistic, and let's just say if I was in Hamas's shoes right now, I'd be pretty scared. Thank you. Let's take some questions from the audience. So the first, all the fake news. So who do I read? Where do I get my news? What is reliable? The answer is not much. There are publications that are super duper left, like nauseating left, like Haaretz. Which not only are they repulsive and disgusting and treasonous, but our enemies literally take their articles to prove that we are committing genocide. Like, it's absurd. It's worse than absurd. So Haaretz is just absolute. Haaretz should be shut down, right? We have the Jerusalem Post, which I would say, on a scale from 1 to 10 on reliability, I would say the Jerusalem Post is about a 6.5 maybe. Times of Israel, depends on the writer, but also pretty much around there. American media, CNN, BBC, Sky News, just literal garbage, like go use them as toilet paper. Fox, on the right, speaks to me. How accurate they are, depends who you ask. But I think the answer is that there really is an opportunity here. Free press is great. There's an opportunity here for someone to build an actual media company that is both professional and accurate. And it's not easy to do. The thing that makes me laugh is that journalists, who are by definition supposed to be unbiased because they're journalists, all of a sudden over the past couple of years, journalists became political analysts. Journalists became demonstrators. Journalists became thought leaders in politics. Who the hell asked you what you think of Netanyahu? You are a journalist. Report the facts. It's like a press release. A press release isn't a marketing document. You write a press release, tell me the story, give me the facts, right? If I'm a journalist and you send me a press release and it's, we're the most amazing company, we're done. A press release isn't a marketing document. Tell me the story and I'll decide if you're amazing, right? Same thing here. Don't tell me as a journalist what to think. Don't lean in and say, this is good, that's bad. No one asked you. Your job is to tell me the news, but that's what's happened across the world, and it's unfortunate. But the reality is there really isn't any one publication that I could point to. And on the right, there's Arutz Sheva, Israel National News. I know the team very well, great people, but their reporting is, of course, tilted or, of course, affected, impacted by their opinions, and their opinions are pretty clear. They're very right wing. So I don't know. I really don't know if there's such a publication because we're human beings and we're biased. But all I can hear is cha-ching. I think there's a big opportunity here. Someone's going to build it. I love Ben Shapiro. the Daily Wire. But again, he is not objective. He leans to the right. So someone has to build it. The answer is I get my information from many different sources. I balance it out. I read here, then I read the opposite, and I cross-reference, and I try to figure out where the truth is, and it's usually right in the middle. But there really is no great publication that I could recommend. Besides Hillel, Fuld, follow me. Who else should one follow on social media? The answer is, wow, there are so many people. Obviously, Yusuf Haddad, Arsen Ostrovsky, Amit Segal, from my perspective, is the number one journalist in this country. Yes, he's right wing, but he reports, as far as I'm concerned, very objectively. The left will say he's like a BB puppet, but I don't believe that. There's a guy named Eitan Fishberger. I'm talking X, by the way. This is all on Twitter. Eitan Fishberger, amazing. I don't know where he gets his stuff from. Eyal Yacobi, phenomenal dude. Tweets 100 times a day. 100 times a day. So anything you want to know about the Middle East, or really geopolitics in general, follow Eyal Yacobi for sure. There's Israel War Room on Twitter. Israel War Room, definitely worth a follow. Who else? Aviva Klumpus. Oh my gosh, Aviva Klumpus is amazing. Follow her. She's a beast. She's like a monster. She just shares, I don't know where she gets her stuff from, but it's unbelievable. Erin Molin, of course, is huge. There's a guy named Raylan Givens. It's called Jewish Warrior 13 on Twitter. The list just goes on and on. But the bottom line is there are some incredible Israel warriors that you should be following. And I would go on a limb and say that they're even more reliable and even quicker to report things than the mainstream media. So I strongly believe that X is a great platform to get your accurate news. Of course, you got to figure out who you're following, but I get all my news from X. I don't really open news websites anymore because they're both late and the experience is annoying when these ads pop up in your face. I don't like them. So I get all my information from X, and I highly recommend you do the same. Even if you don't talk, even if you don't tweet, follow people. You can absorb, right? You can get information. You don't have to talk. Get on Twitter and just listen. It's a strong platform.